And welcome back to Terps Esports, everyone. It is game night for the Overwatch 2 Premier Team, which means it is electric in the studio. My name's Tomas, and with me,
I'm Quentin. And you're absolutely right. It is the first game in the NECC Division 1 tournament for the Terps Premier Overwatch team. So it's going to be a brutal match. And we're playing Illinois University's Redbird Esports, a team that some regard as the best in the country.
Yeah, winning the second division might have come with endless fame and cash, but this isn't a game anymore.
What?
Shut up! But before that, we've got a lot to cover in our pre-show, including an interview with our team's flex support, Mart. First though, let's go over a refresher for anyone who's new to the esport.
For sure. Overwatch is a 5v5 hero shooter, where teams will battle over control points by utilizing their characters' unique abilities to eliminate enemies and enable their team.
Yeah, it's super fast-paced, but I really want to focus on that team play element. You will see these players working with one mind, or you're going to watch them fall one by one and eventually just lose the game.
That's going to be especially important in this game against... This is Terps' final chance to prove themselves against a very difficult opponent.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about what players we have in the studio tonight.
Of course, first we have Jay Keesis, our flex DPS. You got to look out for him in the kill feed, because he's going to be the player in charge of securing a limbs.
And next to him, we've got C3, who's going to be playing that hit scan DPS. He's going to keep some space in between him and the enemy team, but he's going to be putting out so much damage that he's going to be a real thorn in the side for Redbirds. They're going to have to take care of him.
And of course then there's Tony, our tank. His job is to lead the team by both putting his massive health pool in front of his team, but also he's in charge of calling rotations and managing the team's macro.
And next to him, we've got Pumpkin, the main support. Since he'll be staying on Lucio for a lot of this match, his role is going to be controlling the high ground with his character's booping ability and maneuvering his team around the map with the speed boost in order to secure elims into fight wins.
And finally, now we have Marf, our flex support player. But for a more in-depth dive into what his role in the field is, we've brought him into chat. All right, today we have Marf, our flex support player. How's it going, Marf?
Going pretty good, excited.
All right. Now, Marf, you're our new kid on the block. You are recently joining the team, so I gotta ask, how are you meshing with our team here?
I think I'm meshing with everybody pretty well. We've actually put up pretty good performances so far really early on in the season. Like, we beat one of Fisher's top teams, and we went to last fight with UCI, which we probably definitely should have beaten them in the qualification bracket. So it's looking pretty well early on, and things are going well.
That's good to hear. And now, you are our team's flex support player, so what is that really going to look like in that match today?
I mean, I'm the flex support player for today. Normally it's Moose, but, he's not here today. I mean, it's just going to look like every other game. I'm comfortable in any role, comfortable any time. I'm still going to shout call. I'm still going to do what I need to do just for us to do what we can, and that's it.
All right. Now, this is your first real tournament match on a stage like this, and you're jumping into the deep end a little bit here, facing a team like Illinois. So, what's going on in your head to prepare for this match?
I would say it's like a little intimidating to go against the #1 team in the country as like my first match. But honestly, I'm not really worried at all. We're just gonna go in, have fun, play our game, not take anything too seriously, and we'll do fine.
It's definitely a good attitude to have. Now, for our last question today, you're an Overwatch player and a coach. So I know you definitely have a little bit of pent-up anger about something in the game. I know you've got some little angry take. So can you give us a little quick version of what your angriest take right now is?
I would say the balance of the game is genuinely like really bad. It doesn't make sense how they balance the game because they just buff people's numbers until they get like really good, and then they don't do anything about it for like the entire season, and then they like nerf the wrong characters, and then they buff the wrong characters, and then it's like, oh, we're just gonna absolutely kill this character so they won't be seen for like 2 years in meta, and then, oh, actually they've been gone for too long, let's just make them in meta now. Like, none of the balancing makes sense. Like, they need to fix their entire dev team or fire all of them, one or the other.
I definitely do know that is a shared sentiment between a lot of people in the Overwatch community, especially as Overwatch 2 has had a time to mature. But I gotta thank you for your time, especially before this big game. And that's all we have for our pre-show today. We're going to let our players get their last-minute preparations in, and we'll see you just after this ad break.
And welcome back. We're going to be hopping into Game 1 in just a second. And I believe the players are going to go right into Lijiang.
Yeah, looks like we're going to be starting in Lijiang Tower. So we're going to see some control points here. And we're really going to have a huge focus on that team play and that really just sticking together.
Yeah, no, so I think Lijiang specifically, but all of these control point maps really emphasize that brawl composition where you're kind of just deathballing your team into the enemy team, and whichever team has the right aim and the right game plan going into the fight is just going to run over the other team. So we're going to be seeing what these teams have to offer, and it'll really set the pace for this entire game, I think.
That's definitely true. It's really going to be a battle of who can get that first advantage, that real first fight off. You know, being able to set the pace for the match and being able to get that first advantage is a really great opportunity to snowball and kind of open up this very important and contentious match in a good way. And whichever team can really become the leaders, I think are really going to have a great chance of finishing off this match really well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really want to highlight, before we go into this, I would try to keep an eye out for Tony because of how macro intensive and just kind of deathbally these games end up being, those tank players are really going to be the stars of the show, I think. But anyway, we're going to be seeing very similar comps, but Redbirds actually going with the Junker Queen, which is a really feast or famine kind of character. It's either going to just stay alive infinitely and do, just infinity damage, or she's going to kind of get run over before she has a chance to stay up. So we're going to be seeing how Tony is able to sustain against her on that Ramatra.
Yeah, that's very true. Junker Queen is definitely a risky pick, and we're seeing it a bit here with that health pool just being absolutely annihilated. It's just smaller, so you really got to keep up, and you really got to be able to hit that knife.
Yeah, but there's just so much damage. Alu on the Echo is going to be taking Tony out, and UMD has to back up, even though they got the first pick in that fight. It's just unfortunate how they just weren't able to get anything else after that first KO. So we're going to be seeing a reset after Redbirds take the first fight. And it looks like they're just going to be holding the bridge. We see C3 on that Tracer. So looking for a dive, and it's going to be up to that enemy Brigitte to really keep their team alive against that.
That's very true, and we have Tony already back, but losing that tank already is a very big loss. And so we're going to see here the Redbirds getting a good amount of percentage already, and the Terps are really going to have to fight back to get above this. But it looks like C3 is going to be trying, but can't really create that opportunity.
Yeah, tries to throw the kitchen sink against Juno, but I mean, she can fly. I don't think a kitchen sink is the best course of action against her, but you can see how aggressive Redbirds are taking this fight because of that sustain that they're going to have through lethal. And here comes the Rampage coming out. It's going to hit 4 or 5 players, and that's going to be reformed falling. Is UMD going to be able to stabilize? Are they going to get pushed all the way into their spawn? Their Brigitte overextends for Redbirds a little bit, but I think they'll be able to get out. And Tony is actually going to fall very close to the spawn, and Lethal is now just going to be able to turn around and walk backwards out.
Yeah, we're seeing a really dominant performance right now from the Redbirds. They are very far up. They are at that UMD spawn, and they are really not letting go. We are seeing a little bit of ults coming out already, but it's really not making a crazy amount of difference until this Brig ult comes out there. It's a really great way to create some space, create a good push, but it seems like that Redbirds are going to counter a lot, especially with that Echo ult coming in and the Juno ults.
There's a huge cancel from Tony, not allowing Redbirds to get the Rampage off from the Echo copy, and now as they're running forward, Tony is able to get a bunch of space and is at 80% to these ultimate. If UMD is able to stay alive right now and sustain through this fight, that Rampage could be a huge, huge pickup. But Alu is going to pick up a second of the fight. Jaquiza is going to fall. And now Tony is going to fall as well. Just not enough sustain between just Brigitte and the own self-heal from Tony. And it looks like Redbirds are going to be taking this first round.
Yeah, it looks like it. That's a very decisive first round right there. A very strong performance from the Redbirds. Now, a good thing to keep in mind, though, is that it is one round of a control point match. Now, coming into this replay here, we have Lethal coming in and kind of just really taking advantage of the space. And I think that's what the Redbirds did a lot, is they were really good at kind of brawling in and creating a little opportunity, seeing those small opportunities and really capitalizing on them. And I think that's really what created this kind of very quick and dominant round here.
Yeah, I completely agree. There was just UMD actually got a lot of opening picks. They got the first pick of the match on that Brigitte, and they consistently got a lot of damage onto that Junker Queen of Lethal, and they just never quite were able to get that fight win because of how well Redbirds were able to just hold the space. But here we are going into the second round, and a huge overextension from Lethal. That's going to be the tank going down, and that's not who you want to lose first. UMD should be able to run over this enemy Brigitte, and now they're going to be able to just walk through, and they're going to be taking the first fight for this round.
Yeah, a very, very quick fight indeed, especially losing that tank, especially early on, and losing it initially is a huge loss. And UMD's going to get that first cap, but it looks like the Redbirds here are going to be pushing up really fast. We have a switch to the Doomfist there to really emphasize getting places as fast as possible and kind of diving into that back line there. Yeah,
it's a really good response against that Junkrat that Terps Esports have pulled out, because that's not a very common pick, but UMD is actually going to be taking a lot of pressures. They almost lose the point before even getting the fight, so C3 is going to fall just because of that little mistake, and now Lethal is going to find Reformed in the backline, and it looks like Redbirds are going to be able to flip this point.
Yeah. See, the Redbirds here are doing some really good counterplay right now. They're changing up their tank right now. They're being responsive to those UMD changes, and they're able to take that point pretty quickly with only 31% getting taken. And that's going to be a really huge change at the tides here, especially. But let's see if UMD can really poke in and get that point back.
Yeah, the Brigitte stun is going to come in, and C3 just walks a little bit too far out, and he's going to fall. Pumpkin's going to fall right after him. And now this is just cleanup for the Redbirds as Alu is finding the Junkrat. And Redbirds is going to take another fight, but look at that ultimate economy. UMD is almost at 5 ultimates, while Redbirds did use 2 in that fight. If Terps are able to engage early into this ult fight, they could actually take this fight pretty easily. But we're gonna see how well these ultimates come into play. Here comes a pulse bomb, but the Brigitte is gonna use her ultimate to stun, and there's a counter block into Lethal. She Reformed is going to fall, but we see a bunch of ultimates coming out from UMD. They're able to find Alu, who's been a huge thorn in the side of UMD. Jaquiza falls to the Tracer, but now UMD is going to be able to get the stun onto the Doomfist, but he's not quite going to fall, and UMD is just not quite able to pick up these pieces. So many players on such low HP, but yeah, Redbirds are just playing so well together that they're not allowing anybody to fall.
Yeah, no, we had a lot of good opportunities. We got the Junk all coming out and taking down their tank. That is a great opportunity, a good way to really create some space. And we'll see if the UMD team can really take advantage of that.
Yeah, you see them pushing forward with the Brigitte because I think the Junker Queen is still coming back from spawn, but they're going to chase this chaser down. Unfortunately, Brigitte's shield is falling very low, and she needs to be careful. With only 10% left for UMD to touch this point, they need to start walking to the point now, but there's still all these players in the backline, the Tracer, the Doomfist. They're able to get to point safely without losing anybody, and they're actually going to flip it, but now they just need to stay alive because Lethal is coming in. He's going to be able to find Chiquizas. Lethal finds a second one on C3, and he's not done looking at that the Juno as well. It is going to be Alu who takes it on the Echo, and she finds Tony for 2. Is before going to be able to win, not quite, and that's going to be the first game for Redbirds.
Yeah, now that was a very decisive game, and what we saw there was not complete dominance, that's for sure, because UMD was really able to, especially in that second round, poke in a bit, get some caps, win some fights, but I think where we saw the Redbirds' strength was really recovering from those. Is, being put on the back foot of a team fight, losing a few people, but being able to still stall them and recover, counter their heroes, and get their dead heroes back.
Yeah, for sure. And I really want to talk about that Echo player from Redbirds because she was just doing so much damage every single fight. I think UMD just had a really hard time keeping track of all of the players because they were playing really all over the place. We had Tracer, we had Doomfist, we have Echo, all of these heroes. If you don't have an exact knowledge of where they are on the map, they can easily assassinate one of your supports, either the Juno or the Brig if she's not careful. And having to keep track of all 3 of these players, having to juggle all the information, I think it was just a little bit too much for UMD. So I'm really curious where they end up going on this next map.
Yeah, especially we had a lot of characters with a lot of crazy movement, a lot of ability to really get around. If you're not really super paying attention to them, it's so easy to lose them. And, we had Echo, who is such a glass cannon type hero. A lot of really great damage potential, but not a lot of sustain. Not a lot of self-support. So the Redbirds especially really had to come in and support, and I think really took advantage of the fact that they had a lot of moving parts, a lot of people, a lot of movement that was able to kind of take the Terps' attention to really occupy them so that the Echo could really get a lot of value out. So we're going to see how the Terps try to counter that in that next match.
Yeah, I really want to see maybe a more linear map. Say, Kings Row, or I believe because we're on hybrid, even like Midtown. I think having something like that is going to be a really intelligent choice for Terps because they won't have to deal with those flankers as much. They just will have to. They'll just be able to focus on the heads-on, just the head-on fights.
Yeah, and from what I'm hearing, it seems that Kings Row is going to be our next map. And that's really going to change up a lot because, again, it is a lot more linear map. It is, it's hybrid, but a lot of it is push. So there's going to be a lot less of scrambling around, and it's going to be more of one way. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Redbirds kind of shift from that because their playstyle before was really taking advantage of that brawl, taking advantage of having so many angles, so many space to move around. So with less space to do that, it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of change up their strategy.
Yeah, and we're seeing an interesting thing I want to talk about right now is on the Redbirds, we're actually seeing the Winston on defense. I don't know if that's going to be swapped once the game actually starts, but they're on defense. They're not in spawn. I think they're actually going to be running the Winston. So it looks like Redbirds are really playing for that advantage of kind of being all over the map without letting the Terps kind of get an idea of where these players are.
Yeah, we've got Winston, we've got Tracer, we've got Juno, a lot of crazy movement. But the Terps here are seeming to try to combat it a little. We see the Junk, we see the Kiriko, especially the Lucio coming out. It's going to be super helpful. And that Venture is also going to be very interesting to see as they can really survive a lot and kind of really hurt that back line.
Yeah, we see Terps Esports going for this side staircase, but this is going to give Elu an opportunity to flank behind them. Jaquiza is going to be able to find Lethal, which is a huge pickup. That Ana is so important on keeping especially Winston alive. Juno's heals, I mean, they're fine, but they're really... for the amount of damage that Winston is going to end up taking, if UMD is able to get a fast reset, we see them switching over to that D.Va, and they've got the Lucio speed boost. They should be able to run over Redbirds a little bit here, and we see Elu already forced to use his recall and reformed a beautiful headshot, going to be taking out the Tracer, and that's UMD up 5-3 in this fight.
Yeah, especially taking that back line is super serious, super important, and it's really going to limit that Winston to where he can go. And we see him coming in from the back trying to get that Venture, but it seems like there's going to be a lot of UMD people there. And it's going to be hard for them really to recover this point here, and it seems like we're going to be shifting to push.
Yeah, that's going to be first point for UMD. They're looking really, really strong. Able to catch out Lethal on that Ana twice now in really one fight. Really goes to show, like, they are doing a great job of, picking out a target and finishing it. But JQ is getting the Winston a little bit out of position. That's really useful because if he has to use his jump just to get back into a position to dive, he's going to have to wait that time limit to dive again. And Reformed is going to take advantage of that time limit because here comes a Kiriko ultimate. Winston is going to pop Primal trying to find Pumpkin, but he's just not quite going to be able to do it. Alu is going to be able to pick up the kill, but not before Reformed is able to find that Winston. Jaquiza finds the Ana again.
Yeah, so it looks like UMD is really going to be taking control and is really going to be on top of this fight right now. And I think what really is making the difference here is really being able to punish that back line, especially that Winston. We see them changing off, and now they're back to Junker Queen because that Winston wasn't really working out because UMD, especially Jaquizas and C3, were really good at getting that back line, which is so important for a Winston. Getting in and out super fast, getting those heals super fast is really important for Winston. And we see Tony here trying to get some picks, but it seems like he's not going to. But we've got a really decisive battle here going on.
Yeah, it was a really cheeky D.Va ultimate going over the building, but it's not quite going to find anybody. Fortunately, doesn't lose mech for it. And we're going to see a Nana Boost coming out onto the enemy Venture. She's not quite going to be able to find anybody. And here's a beat of forward Terps. C-Sports is not going to find Jaquizas, but it doesn't matter because Tony gets the kill onto Admiral. That's going to be the Juno going out. C3, great recall, keeps him alive when he had just only a couple HP. Alu does find Jaquizas with the Pulse Bomb, but Tony finds Lethal, and that's going to be a huge pickup for UMD.
Yes, it looks like UMD is continuing with their success, continuing the same strategy. Alu's going to be able to get C3, and it looks like Tony is going to be down too, because we've got that Venture over there, really able to come back into the fight fast and really get a lot of damage in, and especially get those pickups. And it really kind of changes the flow.
Yeah, that was a huge ultimate from that enemy Venture just because it was able to completely flip that fight. UMD had the advantage, but we're seeing this Venture again all the way in the backline. It's not going to be able to find anybody and falls to so little HP, is going to be able to get into the underground, and Lethal with a beautiful nade going to find Jaquizas. That's going to be another fight win for UMD as they're just forced to back up now. Are they going to be able to do it? Yeah, great cleanse coming out from Reform. They're able to keep Tony in his mech.
Yeah, we've got a really interesting strategy change here from the Redbirds because they're really focused on kind of trying to punish what they were just losing for. They're trying to stop those people who are poking them, who are diving in, especially with that enemy Venture. They're really good at getting in, punishing any overextension, and then getting back out if they overextend.
Ooh, Lethal gonna fall so low, and Jaquiza is gonna be able to pick up the assist, but unfortunately I think it's a little bit too late. They're able to force out the Rampage out of the enemy Junker Queen though, and that's a huge ultimate to be able to win. So even if UMD doesn't end up winning this fight, just the fact that they're able to get that ultimate out is huge. And we're gonna see Tony pop the ultimate, not trying to find anybody, just getting the quick reset so that he doesn't lose mech. I think that's a great choice, and UMD is gonna be able to take advantage of this fast reset as they're already going in again. Venture is forced underground, but she's going to come back up, and now she's just forced to back up, and UMD, look at all the space they're getting.
Yeah, UMD's really coming back here, really putting a lot of pressure on, but that Venture is still a bit of a problem, just so easy for that Venture to get behind, in front, left, right, every direction, get in, get out. So it's really something that they're going to have to combat here, and it looks like Alu is going to come in and get a kill and really punish that
Oh, what a beautiful
punish
shot.
that extension there. Yeah, especially with that kill on Pumpkin right there.
Yeah, it just knows exactly where to be. Really well played. And we're going to be seeing Tony switch over to that trademark Zarya. We see him playing that all the time, and it matches up really well into Junker Queen. So maybe with the 1 minute timer ticking down, this is what UMD needs.
Yeah, a switch of play can always be very helpful, especially with the strategy starting to not really work out. And a Zarya pick can be very helpful, especially when playing Junker Queen and when playing against a lot of high damage players, a lot of damage to absorb to really get that energy level up. And it seems like UMD is going to be trying to recover here and is trying to, and they get that Junker Queen, so that's really a good opportunity to push forward in.
Yeah, that was a huge overextension by that Junker Queen, and UMD does a great job of punishing it. We're going to see a bunch of ultimates coming out from Redbirds, but a great beat from Pumpkin is going to be able to somewhat neutralize it. Reformed is going to fall though, but Pumpkin is able to trade it onto the enemy Venture, and C3 is going to be forced to back up into the fight, but Juno keeps pushing forward, trying to get that, and Pumpkin, Jaquizas, they're going to be able to work together and finish cleaning up that fight, and we see a great stagger coming up onto this Ana. As long as C3 doesn't fall, she is going to tick down, but Lucio gets the trade, and honestly, that's a great trade for UMT because so much healing is going to be lost from losing that Liesel, and that's already going to pay dividends because Tony keeps going, and he's going to be able to pick up the Junker Queen.
Yeah, it's really important. That back line, that support is really important, especially in Overwatch 2. A lot of healing, a lot of damage. And it seems like that UMD is getting pretty close to that checkpoint and might be able to extend their time just a little bit more.
Yeah, Venture today is a huge pickup from Redbirds because he's just able to stall out the payload without dealing any kind of without taking any kind of damage. But we're gonna see the ultimate coming out from the Venture. Not quite gonna be able to find anybody, but they're falling incredibly low UMD. So we see the grab come out, and it's gonna be able to find two. And UMD is looking like they're gonna be able to take the second point. C3 finds a Lu as well as a great shot onto that Tracer, and Pumpkin's gonna be able to finish off Admiral.
Yeah, we've got a nice checkpoint from UMD here. And a good ultimate there, getting that Ana, really pushing in. And I feel like the Zarya switch has really helped out, especially that grab, really fortunately, I think.
Oh, no.
But, ooh, that Widow getting Kiriko right there, that can help really shift things around. So
yeah,
UMD might have to take a second and rethink things and regroup.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing another fight, but a beautiful shot on that Widowmaker. Going to be putting Jaquizas back into the spawn room. I think that Jaquizas not only solo ulted the enemy Ana, but also there's a little bit of BMing, a little bit of a teabag. So I think they maybe made Redbirds a little bit mad, but we're seeing the Reinhardt coming out from Redbirds, and it has a traditionally strong matchup into Zarya, but I'm not sure with how fast these teams are with the Widowmakers if that's the best pick. We're going to be seeing though as a Kiriko ultimate comes out from Reformed, and Jaquizas is going to be able to shoot down Tracer, and look at this Reinhardt trapped in the corner. He's not really going to be able to help in this fight.
Yeah, Reinhardt's just so hard to make work in the current meta. It's just so fast. It's so hard to shield everything. And it looks like they're really going to be taking advantage of that. With C3 getting the double, Jaquizas getting the pick on Juno. And it looks like they are super close to finishing this off. And boom! We have a full 3-point run from the Terps with a great start to the second match.
Look at that pop-off from Tony. I mean, you can see how happy these teams are. Not only were they able to cap the entirety of King's Row, but they were able to get it with time to spare as well. So even if they don't get a full hold onto this team, they still have great winning chances. That was a fantastic round from them.
Yeah, the Terps coming out playing really well, showing that it is not a super, steamroll match, that they have a chance. And they've put themselves in a great position. They've got a little bit of time. They've got full 3 points, every point capped. And that's going to be super important coming up on defense because all they have to do is really just play the stall game now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really interested to see what kind of heroes they end up picking because, on one hand, the Diva was just doing a great job of finding those dives, and especially Liesel on that Ana just kept on falling. And UMD had a great coordination, but on the other hand, I mean, Tony just seems so confident on that Zarya. We saw how dominant he was last season, and it looks like he's only gotten better since. So you can see the chat is alive. Everybody's having fun, and really that's the great thing to have. I feel like with a lot of these with these games that are so high level, it's so easy to forget that it is a game, but it's great to see that these players are just out here having fun.
Yeah, we've got a really live match today, a lot of interaction going around, a lot of people just having fun, joking around while playing this match, and that's a good thing to see here. And we've got a little bit of a different play here. We've got the Iari and the Ash coming in on the Redbirds, and it seems like we've got a very similar comp still here from the Terps.
Yeah, here comes the speed boost from Pumpkin. They're actually able to find that Alari. They do overextend maybe a little bit as Reformed is going to fall, but being able to find that pick. Unfortunately, Lucio is going to fall as well, and with no supports left for UMD, they're going to be forced to just back up and regroup. Are they going to be able to get the reset at all? It looks like some of these players are still trapped in this little hotel, and I think that's going to be a death sentence for them. And the way that this is playing out, I don't think that they're going to get a second touch. I think they're just going to have to play for the next point.
Yeah, that's a very decisive team battle there, especially so early on. I think it's really going to be hard for UMD to kind of recover this point, really. You know, so they're really going to have to wait for that push, and especially when you have that more linear section, you have a lot more straight linear play. It's going to be very interesting to see how UMD changes up.
Yeah, this is the damage that we were talking about before this game started. Look at that damage from Reformed, able to find the Ana. I mean, sniped her from across the map, really. That's just what Kiriko is able to output with those headshots that she has. But a huge trap coming out from Chiquisis is going to be able to put the enemy Ash in the ground thanks to Tony. And UMD is still looking alive in this fight, even though they lost somebody so early.
Yeah, they lost that first team fight, but it looks like they're recovering really well, especially that Junk putting in work with the traps and getting a lot of damage in. We have Reformed getting taken down and Pumpkin dying, so it looks like, ooh, yeah, this is going to be a bit of a tough team fight for UMD here, and it looks like they're going to have to go back a little bit and kind of retry. But we do have that Winston ult coming out, which puts UMD in a good position to come back with with 3 ults really close to being charged.
Yeah, I really want to highlight, I don't know if anybody caught that, but we actually saw Tony on the D.Va trying to DM for the tire, and that's really the team play that I love about this game. Even when the fight seems so over, just having that team play gave them a chance, but so much damage coming out from UMD, they're not going to be able to take full advantage of this Kiriko ultimate. He's just going back for the Mega, and he's going to be able to get himself back up to full, but unfortunately that means that UMD has to forfeit this ultimate. We're seeing Pumpkin going a little bit too far. He was actually able to get past, and Jaquizas is able to trade out Tracers. So this is still not over for Terps Esports. We're going to need to see some ultimates coming out from them, so C3 needs to stay alive.
Yeah, this is very important here. The ultimates are going to make a huge difference right now. It's what's going to give advantage. And we've got 2 ultimates. We got that Cassie ult coming out, and it looks like Lethal is going to get reformed there with that Kiriko. So it's going to look like Terps are really going to have to stall, or they're going to have to wait for this next cap to happen.
Yeah, they were just playing to try to hold the point at the last second, but a great heads-up play from Redbirds, going for that stun, just making sure that D.Va is not able to touch, and they're just kind of running over UMD right now. They need to, UMD is going to need to find some footing faster. They're just going to end up, they're just going to keep slipping.
Yeah, especially right now, we've got the Redbirds getting real close in and a lot of time left, so it looks like the UMD is really going to have to find some strategy that works, find some way to change it up, especially, and stall that timeout because they have a lot of time left to go.
Yeah, you gotta keep in mind how many ults UMD has. So the fact that they were able to find that McCree so early in the fight is going to be a huge pickup, and Brigida's falling so low as well. She's going to fall, and UMD is just going to back up now. A great beat coming up from Lucio, keeping him alive with just a sliver of HP. Is Redbirds going to be able to find him? Not quite. Finally, the Winston comes in with the Primal, but I think that they secured enough time that UMD should get the full reset before Redbirds becomes the problem in this fight.
Yeah, some really great stalling from Pumpkin there. Just knowing that they're low and that they really need to get time for the team, because that's all it is right now, is team play, is buying that time so that they can really draw out this these long 3 minutes with the Redbirds.
Yeah, great job from Terps keeping up their D.Va, and she's gonna go back in now with the nano boost. She's gonna be forced out because of the high noon, but she does have her self-destruct, so she's gonna be able to overextend a little bit in this fight and have the opportunity to lose it. And Redbirds are actually forced to back up without even forcing that out. Unfortunately, Terps Esports doesn't have any other ults to work with in this fight, while Redbirds has that rally from Brig, which is so powerful. And Luke is going to be able to find an early pick on the C3. That's a huge problem for UMD. Tony is forced to back up a little bit, but he still has that bomb. Not quite going to be able to use it quite yet. But we're going to be seeing it in a second as they're just forced to stall.
Yeah, that Brig ult, especially right now, you can see coming in with so much power, giving that overhealth, those stuns. It's really a perfect way to create space. And it looks like that the Redbirds are really going to come out and, you know, take advantage of this, especially with Alu with that 3-piece. You know, it's tough to see, and they have a whole 3 minutes and 23 seconds left when it comes to that next round. So it's really going to be interesting to see how the Terps kind of adjust with that, because they have a decent-sized disadvantage right now.
Yeah, I love to see right now. Take a look at this team. Even though Redbirds are playing so well, it's just smiles across the board. This team is just having fun, just taking advantage of this opportunity to, you know, play a great game.
Yeah, and it's really great to see that, because it's not a lot of times where you get to fight, you know, such good opponents, such well-matched opponents, where you can get a really good game going. And again, this isn't one of those where it's a complete steamroll one way or the other. We're seeing good fighting back from both teams. You know, right now the Redbirds had the advantage, but UMD also has a good performance showing here today, and it can really still go both either ways very easily.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing Jaquizas on the Widowmaker opening this up, and we actually saw the same thing last round, trying to get just a cheeky pick, but that almost ended in Jaquizas' death, because we saw an arrow land on the door right in front of him. I really want to keep out there, because now there's no Hanzo, nothing to try, pressure that Widow off the high ground. So this could be an opportunity for Terps Esports to get a cheeky pick, but they're just going to switch off onto the, looks like the Venture instead. And, you know, because Lethal is still on that Ana, if we see a good pick or two, you know, that's a great choice, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a great choice right now, especially back on attack. And with the Redbirds not really changing up their lineup right here, I think being able to dive back in is going to be really important right now.
Yeah, Pummeling's going to fall immediately, and that's going to be a problem for Terps Esports, because they can't even just need to get a full reset. I lied. Tony's going to be able to get a pick, even though they lose mech. If they're able to back up and reset now, that Cassidy is not coming back. He's not going to be back for the next fight.
Yeah, and it looks like that Redbirds are going to take this first fight a little bit, but the Terps are really going to have to come back in fast and really go back to the point, because they've got 20 seconds left. They've got to go. They don't have time. They need to get on that point right now, and they need to get those touches so that they can keep it going for long. Yeah,
we see the engage onto the brig, but she's going to control the high ground with that boop and force UMD to just go to point instead. The Venture is going to come up here, and that's going to be a chase down onto the Ana, but she changes course onto the brig. She's going to get collapsed on, though. The entirety of Redbirds is there. Is she going to be able to keep herself up? She is. She goes back into the ground. She should be able to get healed by her team, but Admiral is going to be able to find before him. Alu finds C3, and I think that's going to be UMD falling now, as that's going to be the end of round 3.
Yeah, that's the end there. We've got a pretty decisive battle there. I mean, it's just so hard to really fight back against that minute timer. It is just so fast. It's always faster than you think, and it is really hard to recover, especially after losing that first team fight, because then you really have to scramble. And, you know, UMD just had to try to recover, and they did a really good job of trying to get there. They were getting some percentage. They were getting on there, and they were keeping the overtime up for a very long time. But it's just so hard to kind of keep fighting it back against that disadvantage, especially as overtime just gets quicker and quicker. You know, and it seems the Redbirds really took advantage of that now. So we're going to see how UMD faces up with the 3-minute timer this time.
Yeah, something I want to point out, by the way, from that fight, the amount of team play out of Redbirds. We saw the Venture, who was underground, and she had the opportunity to dive after the Ana. She could go after the Brig as well, or she could just stay point. And as soon as she made that decision and used her abilities to engage onto the Brig at the end of that fight, you could see all of Redbirds collapse on her immediately. The Ana was shooting at her from the top of the staircase. The Brig was holding that position. The Winston came in to with the bubble as well to protect, and I believe Tracer got a little bit of the action as well. So just great team play out of Redbirds.
Yeah, the Redbirds here really good at making those small opportunities into big advantages. I'm going to see how they're going to come in here with this round. We're looking at a very interesting team comp. We've got Hamston, Junk, Anna, Juno, and Tracer, and then we've got also Tony on the Roadhog, which we haven't seen yet. So it's a very interesting team comp coming in here.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if UMD is trying to pioneer a new game-winning strategy, or if maybe they're just having a little bit of fun. But Jaquizas is gonna get the pick onto the ball, and that's kind of, you know, reversing the script a little bit, because I think Widowmaker's supposed to die to ball, not the other way around.
Yeah. We've got a lot of interesting plays going on. We've got Juno getting the double here. And it seems like, oh, now a triple. My mistake. And it seems like UMD is, you know, putting up a fight, but also having a bit of fun with it, which is nice to see. And it seems like that's going to be it. You know, the Redbirds are just so dominant, so good with the team play. You know, Jake Keezus was getting some good picks, but it's just, you know, they had a hard matchup to fight against with that 3 minutes. So I think they definitely did do a decent choice with kind of regrouping and keeping that morale up. Especially, I feel like that's a great thing that they're doing right now. You know, everyone's happy, everyone's fun. I mean, but just look at this play right now. Pumpkin just playing so fast, so accurately, looking at every single opportunity, you know. Just, I think, a great showcase of what really makes these teams here today.
Yeah, those shots onto the Venture were just so good. Able to kill that hero who normally is already very survivable, plus the nano boost. I'm kind of surprised that they were able to get to that at all. So the fact that it was a Lucio cutting it down just really goes to show how comfortable what's his name, Pumpkin, is on that Lucio.
Yeah, Pumpkin, especially on Lucio, very dominant. And I feel like, you know, that's just the main thing that has been the theme of today and been the strengths is, you know, both the teams are both very good at seeing those opportunities and capitalizing it with team play. And I feel like the Redbirds have seen that opportunities a little more here, but UMD has definitely seen them and created a lot of momentum from it. I mean, with that first round with UMD on attack, they were definitely really good at creating that momentum. And even when it was seeming to kind of wane, they kind of relit that fire with all that just amazing team play, and especially those good uses of alts. That's, you know, another great game maker is just how you use those alts, what utilization you get out of them, who you get, what you pick. You know, sometimes, you know, it's not the best play to get some super flashy 3-kill when you can take out their back line.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought up the ultimates because I think that really was a huge difference maker in the fight. We saw several fights where UMD were able to get huge picks to open it up, especially on that second point of UMD's first attacking round. They were able to open a lot of fights well, but unfortunately they were just up against some really well timed late fight ultimates out of Redbirds. You know, what comes to mind immediately is that Venture ultimate, able to find 2 or 3 in the backline. But we're seeing UMD coming out now on to this new push map, and we're going to be seeing a classic Tony on the Zarya as well. So this is going to be, I think, UMD's comfort pick.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of classic picks here, a lot of heroes we've seen before, and especially with these players. And Tony getting that quick pick on Ana, that's very big, that's going to be very helpful upcoming. But it looks like they're going to lose Kiriko, which is also another huge pick. So we're going to see how UMD deals with that.
Yeah, the Reaper is going to follow them. And that's a huge problem for Redbirds because not only is that a bunch of damage that you're going to lose, but that's also a bunch of sustainability because of the lifesteal Reaper has. Juno is going to be able to do a lot of damage to Zarya. Not quite going to fall, though, as Jakeez is going to be able to pick up the Juno. Alu on the Tracer picks up Pumpkin and Tracer in the backline, though. But now Jakeez is going to trade out the ball. And UMD is going to be forced back up just because, yes, they got an early advantage in the fight, but that means that Redbirds are going to be able to come back earlier.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you can be winning a fight, but it's always, you got to always be on top of that strategy and be on top of where you're going because, again, we saw a lot of those picks, but, you know, you had Tony still low, and it seemed like Jakeez was focused on the ball there and kind of left Tony to die.
Yeah, after all the dust is settled, it looks like UMD is going to start with an early advantage, but Redbirds is already back on their tail on this point. They're going to be able to chase down this Reaper, though, who's out of Wraith's form. Is he going to fall? It's so close, but Jakeez is realizing Ana's a little bit out of position. A great steep out of that Ana, though, and not only do Redbirds steal the point from under Terps' noses, but they're going to lose Jakeez as well. This is going to be a next engage, and a huge slash coming out from Tony. It's not going to be able to find anybody, but still, UMD is looking great, being down a player. They are going to finally fall, but it's after Redbirds pop 2 ultimates, both that Juno and the Reaper.
Yeah, the Redbirds are going to be winning that fight, but it is a big cost. Those ultimates are such a big way of utilizing just value and getting plays here. So, you know, UMD definitely has a opportunity to kind of come back and get control of that bot again.
And we see the Nano Boost coming up onto Juno, just trying to keep her alive because Reformed, one good headshot and that Juno was out. Unfortunately, though, for the Redbirds, they're just not going to be able to engage. And here's a huge ultimate out of UMD. Just one is all they're going to need to be able to take this fight. And that's going to be a huge fight for them. They go positive in ult, and they're going to be able to take the robot. They should be able to take the lead as well. And they're still running down Redbirds. They're forcing the Juno to go back to spawn, even though she was already on her way there.
Yeah, that's a really great play there from UMD, really putting a lot of pressure on. Using those ults, sure, you don't see a lot of impact in the kill feed, but it really does a lot of pushing them off and getting a lot of damage in and creating just opportunities to get that team out.
Yeah, Jakisa is going to fall early, but we see a huge rampage coming out from Tony. I don't think it quite got as much value as he was hoping for, but it's still going to make that Reaper fall so low, and he's forced to back up out of the fight. Trace is going to fall as well, and now the rampage is coming out from Redbirds. Is UMD going to be able to sustain through it? It looks like they just might, but they do lose their Kiriko for it. Fortunately, Pumpkin able to trade out the tank, and that's a huge pickup because UMD now has that tank advantage. Unfortunately, they do lose C3, which is going to be a huge amount of damage lost on the side of UMD, but as long as they are able to keep Tony up, this is not unwinnable for them. He's falling so low. He's forced to hide behind the car. Is he going to be able to survive? He takes down Juno with him, even though he falls, and this is still not losable.
Yeah, that is a big trade there, and it is something that is still winnable for both teams right here, and it looks like that the Redbirds are going to take that kind of advantage and keep the bot pushing. But, they still are kind of on that backside. UMD is coming up on some ults. They have the Juno ult, and they're coming up to the Reaper ult, but UMD also has a lot of opportunity to respond here.
Yeah, gotta watch out for that Lucio on the back line. Honestly, it's not going to be a huge threat for UMD, most likely, but if they're able to find that pick, that should be a pretty easy fight win for them, as Redbirds are closing in on Terps Esports' position now, and they're actually going to be able to force Redbirds off the payload with the use of a Kiriko ultimate, and they're going to be able to take this fight, even though Redbirds went 1-for-1 in that fight.
Yeah, and that's really opening it up for UMD here to really create some advantage, and they get that Reaper ult with the not too much impact, which is another great pick here. And it seems like UMD, though, is going to have to face a very full back line with the Redbirds team.
Yeah, keep it out for Tony, because he's coming so close on ultimate, and there it is. He's going to be able to pop it. Not quite going to be able to find as much as he might have wanted, but he is going to be able to find a Lu, and that's going to be a huge pickup. Fortunately, as Juno is also going to fall as well, and so does the tank, even though UMD lost Pumpkin to the enemy Junker Queen. It's just this Reaper in the backline. He's forced into race form. He gets the Mega, but it's just not going to be enough to keep him alive.
No, yeah, there's the Reaper down there, and UMD decisively wins the fight. And that is very important, especially to show that it's not always what you lose, but still what opportunities you can make. It would be nice to have, an extra support, but still, you just got to see those opportunities, focus on those opportunities, and make of it what you can.
Yeah, it's a huge checkpoint for UMD, and we're going to be seeing Lucio ultimates coming out from both sides of Rampage as well. Means that Tony's not going to be able to get any healing, and he's going to fall, but UMD was able to get the checkpoint off of this, and they're still pushing the payload a little bit. Lu finds a second one, but I think that UMD still came out very well in this fight because, like I said, they got the checkpoint, they'll get the early respawn. And that means that they're not going to have to wait for the bot to go through his long animation of getting the checkpoint next time if UMD is able to get that get the momentum back on their side. And that's a huge knife out of Tony, but it's not quite going to be able to find the fair. She's able to sneak back to her team just barely in time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a good performance so far by UMD, especially with that checkpoint there, that shorter respawn, that not waiting for having the animation. That 24 meter lead is going to be really helpful here.
Yeah, now we see CT falling so low, but again, he gets the race form, and he's going to be able to reset now as long as UMD stays up for 3 seconds, but they're not going to give any kind of time for Redbirds. As a Kiriko ultimate comes out, it's not quite going to be able to find anybody, but at least makes a whole bunch of space. The Pulse one comes out, it's not quite going to be able to find anybody, but still gets the cleanse out of Kiriko, and now UMD is just going to back up a little bit. They're going to be able to rest on their laurels, but Pumpkin is going to have to rest with the fishes as he falls, and he's going to go back to spawn. UMD is forced to just regroup, I think, after this, but keep an eye on C3, looking for a pick either on that Tracer or the Lucio as well. The barrage comes out onto Tony, and he's going to fall, and it looks like with this reset out of C3 that Redbirds are going to be able to get this point.
Yeah, this looks like to be a full reset for UMD, and the Redbirds might have enough time to get the point. UMD might be able to rush up and get to him, but it seems like that's not really going to be the case. But they do have to wait through that animation, and that's going to buy UMD time especially. And UMD here also has a huge ult advantage right now because that Junker Queen ult is so valuable, and that Reaper ult coming up can also be super valuable. But we see that Kitsune coming off.
Yeah, huge Kitsune, and we're actually going to see a Reaper, or sorry, a Rampage coming out from Tony. It's not quite going to be able to find very much, as we saw how quickly that Pharaoh is able to react, and now with 2 kills on the board for the enemy Junker Queen, that's going to be the advantage going into the side of Redbirds, as they are now pushing for the lead.
Yeah, that is going to be a big loss for the Terps there. You know, 2 very high value ults kind of, you know, being kind of outpaced by the Kitsune rush and the team play by the Redbirds there. You know, it's going to be a little tough to recover from, but we're going to see how UMD goes. We got Tony switching up to the Maga. So that's going to be another big drain on heals there, because Maga's just got such a huge health pool. You're really going to need a lot of heals to help support that.
Yeah, and we see the knife coming out onto Tony. He's actually going to be forced out of position. He gets to charge out, but I mean, Redbirds is still just in such a commanding position, as well as the ultimates. You know, UMD only has that Kitsune rush, and C3's in a little bit of trouble and is stuck in this corner. We see the Kitsune coming out from UMD, and it forces Redbirds to back up for a little bit, but not going to be able to find anybody. Zalu, a huge pulse bomb onto the back line, able to find Lucio as well. And now UMD, I think, just has to back up again. They're going to be able to find that Kiriko, but I think it's just a little bit too late, as they do force out the beat out of Redbirds. But I mean, it's just down to this Melga, and he's going to fall most likely any second now.
Yeah, UMD is definitely going to have to fall back here. They're definitely going to have to rethink things a little bit, because it seems like the Redbirds here are really getting a feel for UMD's strategy right now and getting a good idea of poking that back line. I mean, Keys is there getting lethal, which is going to be a good pick here. But over on that last team fight, the Redbirds especially, what they did is they took out that back line first, especially with their Tracer, and I think that's going to be a real big thing that UMD needs to kind of focus on, especially as they're now back to pushing the bot.
Yeah, we can actually see that enemy the Junker Queen is in a really annoying situation in that window, because it's really hard to push her out, but she also is just going to be doing so much damage that you kind of have to. UMD opts to just kind of walk past her and try to ignore her, and we see the Smell go all the way in the backline. Unfortunately, Lethal is going to find Jaquizis in the meantime, and Tony's falling so low. He's not quite going to fall thanks to a cleanse out of Reformed, but still, you know, UMD is not in control of the bot. The longer this fight goes on, the farther behind UMD is going to be. A huge charge coming out, and Melga is going to be able to catch quite a few players, but unfortunately, a great pulse bomb coming out is going to essentially nullify this effect. Pumpkin's going to go in, but it's just not going to be enough, and with overtime ticking down, UMD needs to throw anybody they can onto the point. They're not going to be able to get anybody, and that's going to be game 3. That's going to be the match.
Yeah, that's going to be it for our Overwatch match tonight. That is going to be a 3-0 loss for the Terps, unfortunately.
Yeah, it really goes to show the caliber of play that we're going to be seeing all season long. And let's just take a look at this play of the game, because, yeah, this Pharaoh was doing so well. Gets the pick onto Tony and forces the wait form out of C3 and just chasing him down, not letting him live at all. He keeps going for more. There's Pumpkin, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, and I think that last play in the game really showcased a lot of the strength of the Redbirds, and what they kind of got over on UMD was just finding those opportunities, getting those angles, just making great value of those little windows. And I think that was really showed, especially by the Pharah, especially earlier in the match, you know, because with DPS, playing against a DPS like Reaper and Cassidy, it can be a little hard to deal with that Cassidy, but the Reaper, not so much, as long as you stay in the air. And I saw that Pharah especially kind of trying to keep Cassidy off on those close angles where there's less range to hit, and I think that was a lot of what kind of created a lot of value for the Redbirds there.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I love how much life we saw out of this UMD team. I feel like when you see a team playing against such a strong opponent, it kind of looks like one team knows what they're doing. The other team is, you know, looks like they just discovered the game for the first time. But we saw a lot of fight wins going to the side of UMD, a lot of life. And if this is what they can pull out against the best team, not only in this league, but perhaps the country, you know, this is gonna be a great season for the Terps. I really am interested to see what we see on a more balanced match.
Yeah, that's true. That is definitely true. We saw a lot of great strength from the Terps. We saw a lot of good fighting, especially with a little different lineup than we're used to. Not people playing their exactly main things, having a sub. It's it wasn't ideal conditions, but they still put up a really good fight, and there was a lot of really good play there. And I think it's clear that there's a lot of talent on the UMD team, and a lot of ability to definitely have some really great matches coming up in this season.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think with that, we're gonna let the team, just go back to VODs and see what kind of improvements they can make. And I think we're gonna be seeing you guys next week. Thanks for joining us.